habits. There's a bunch of them, but there are some that are more impactful than others when we remove them or replace them with something else. So how did I get to this place where I'm focusing on helping human beings be great, helping human beings be better creative problem solvers and more creative individuals when they collaborate with others? Since I was very young, for whatever reason, I got wired up to want to help people. I've done that in lots of different ways over my lifetime as I continually tried to refine, if you would, a meta, major, most effective way of helping people. And while you could say correctly that different types of problems require different kinds of skills, there is a meta skill, an over skill, a thing that we could all learn together. So I've done all kinds of things. You know, as I mentioned previously, I've been a drug abuse counselor. I thought I might want to be a Jesuit priest, so I was a Jesuit candidate for 2 years, decided I didn't want to do that. I decided, well, maybe I could help people by being a doctor. So I was in pre-med and decided there's some other things that I think might be more effective and would allow me to help more people. I became that therapist. I did marriage and family therapy. I've been an Outward Bound instructor because I'm kind of an outdoors guy and I enjoy, that stuff. I do construction and there's problems in construction. There's just all kinds of problems. And at a certain point, as I kind of explored and grew and tried new things, I got certified as a shaman. I learned to do hypnotherapy. I figured out ways to get stoned without doing drugs. All of these things led me further and further down the path of figuring out, is there a pattern in all of this that we could follow? And there is. Now that pattern, for our purposes, we're going to call the universal creative problem solving. And that pattern, I didn't invent it or articulate it, and no one did actually, because it's in every one of our DNA already. We all do it. You do it, I do it. But like each one of us, when we were born, we had the capacity in us, unless we had some major physical disability, to be able to walk. And actually, no one taught you how to walk. You figured that out yourself, and the adults around you made a space where it was safe for you to experiment. But walking is in your DNA, so you figured it out. Solving problems is in your DNA too. And you've been solving problems like learning how to walk since you were an infant. The problems get more sophisticated, but the pattern remains somewhat the same. So how do we get a little bit better at that than we used to? So just like walking, there might come a time in your life where you decide you want to get one place faster than the other, so you run. We know that with training, someone who runs or walks competitively or hikes or mountain climbs can improve their skills to do that better with the right training. And just like you have this DNA that allows you to solve problems better, you can do it even more effectively with the right training. So we're going to remove some habits and we're going to replace those habits with things that help you do this better. That's been my life. Finding patterns that get us to the place where we need to be. And the first thing that we're going to focus on is how we behave mentally and conversationally, even when that conversation is only a facial expression, around other people when we're trying to solve problems. So let me say a few things about that. First off, we're going to pay attention to a part of our brain that we call the gator brain. Now, apologies to people in Florida, but it's a neat metaphor for being able to think about how it is that human beings get in the way of solving problems well. You see, we have our cortex. This is the thinking part of our brain. Theoretically, you're using it now as you're learning in this Elevate Masterclass. We have our limbic area, which is towards the middle center back of the brain, which has to do with our emotions. So when you're feeling mad or sad or glad or afraid, or any of the variants of those core emotions, your limbic area becomes active. And we also have our brain stem, which is the more primitive part of our brain. That part of our brain we have in common with alligators, sharks, and crocodiles. They don't have any limbic area or cortex. So let's look at their behavior and see if we can extrapolate from their behavior, the behavior of the gator, to our own behavior. When greeted with newness of some form or another, the gator, the alligator, doesn't like it because it's a change in the environment. And they've been around for a long time. They haven't changed much. They're just brainstem on a stick, and they've been that way a long time. So they're not tool makers. They're not adaptive. They've got a pattern that works. Don't mess with it, is what their primitive brain is telling them to do. We have that brain in us. Now we've got other brain that can overwrap it. But that part of our brain is saying to us, this has worked. I'm alive right now. I have access to food right now. No one's trying to kill me right now. Don't mess around with things. So somehow we have to notice and overcome this gator brain. And as you're going to see, when it comes to the world of ideas, that, for humans, is where the gator brain needs the most management. And it's possible to do that without becoming a shaman, without having to be a therapist, without having to do years and years of meditative work. You can learn to do that too. So let's explore how we might overcome the habit of the gator brain.